Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? It is 11:24 a.m. on this, I don't know if I would call it beautiful. It's kind of cloudy, but trying to be sunny. Wintry day. Look at all the ducks out there on the river. Oh my. Do you think ducks get cold? They probably don't. That's something I need to Google. Next to, do snakes poop and can birds hear? I always wonder the weirdest things. Do you guys ever wonder, like, strange things? So, I came home from my meeting last night, and Alex was already in bed playing his township. He had taken a shower and done like his hair treatments and his skin treatments and everything that he likes to do every day. And his like new routine is he does hot yoga, and then he comes home and he eats. And then if he has TV shows, he watches his TV shows, and then he takes a shower, and then he does like his hair treatments and his skin treatments and all that kind of stuff, and then he relaxes. So when I came home last night from going to my meeting, he was already in bed relaxing with the dogs. So I got Burger King on the way home last night, so I've been craving Burger King. And I ate my Burger King and watched, what did I watch? Oh, I started watching Family Feud, but I wanted to like watch a show. He sent me this TikTok the other day, or this meme or something. It was a meme, and it was like something about somebody who puts on like a 2-hour movie to eat dinner for 10 minutes. He was like, this is so you, and it is totally me. Like, I always put on something really long to eat dinner to, and then I just sit there for like 10 minutes and eat, and then I turn it off. But I had forgotten, I was like wanting to watch a documentary or something. I don't want to watch the last 2 episodes of Hell in the Heartland until I finish the book. And because I've been going to bed early the last couple nights, I haven't finished the book yet, because I usually, you know, listen to my audiobooks late at night. So I don't want to watch that yet until I finish the documentary, or until I finish the book. So I started watching the second episode of Surviving Death on Netflix, which is this like documentary series about near-death experiences, psychics and mediums and stuff, which is interesting because I'm actually gonna have a tarot card reading with B. Lucille today, who I absolutely love, and I'm really excited about that. We've been meaning to do this for a year now, because she had offered to do a reading for me when I, right before I went to, who's calling me? She had offered to do a reading for me right before I went to Arizona last year. And Mel and I were going to actually do it while I was out there, and then we just couldn't, like, I couldn't connect times with B. So I had reached out to B and said I wanted to get, wanted to buy a reading from her. I love her so much. She's just such great energy. She is somebody that, like, I don't know what it is, from like the very beginning, like when I was like watching her, I just was like, her energy is just so positive. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, her name is B. Lucille Tarot. I think it's called B. Lucille Tarot. I've shouted her out a lot on like my drama channel and linked her channel, but she's fantastic, and she always starts the videos out by saying, how you perking? Hope you're perking good. And so she is just amazing, and she just has that kind of energy that I'm like so attracted to in like people and having as friends. And I'm always like, whenever I meet somebody like her, I'm like, I want them in my life. Like, she's fantastic. It's exactly how I felt about Tanya when I first met Tanya. And so anyway, so she's gonna do a reading for me today at 3 o'clock. I'm really excited because she's so busy. She was so nice to fit me in, and I actually reached out to her, I think it was like the end of last week. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, I was watching that documentary last night. It gets kind of weird. Like, it starts talking about like physical mediums versus mental mediums, and I didn't really know that there was a difference. And physical mediums starts talking about like doing seances and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a skeptic whatsoever. Like, I do believe in mediumship. There's something that almost kind of gets a little bit dark to me about the seance thing. I don't know, like, anybody that I've ever like had a reading from or whatever, it's always very light and positive, and there's something, and it doesn't show this in the documentary. I mean, it just kind of explains what it is and whatever, but there's something very I know, scary kind of to me about the whole like seance thing. I don't know how much I believe in all of that, but so that's as far as I got in them. Well, I watched this guy, he was talking about how he goes to all these mediums and how they, you know, here's the thing. He was talking about how like they always like get stuff correct. But even like the reading that he had, I didn't feel like was that spot on. You know, it's like now it's coming out and they're saying that Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, that she's fake. I've watched all of these shows on TV for years. I watched Teresa Caputo. My ex and I used to watch Sylvia Brown on Montel Williams. And I love Sylvia Brown, but she was found to be a complete fraud, supposedly. Her book, The Other Side and Back, literally completely changed me. I mean, that was, well, I'm going today, you're going with me to Bath & Body Works again because I'm hoping today they're open. So anyway, I thought I would do a little candle haul because I've gone through so many candles now. I need some candles. So I'm going to go to Bath & Body Works, and then I'm going to go to Target on the way back. But you guys, can I just show you what is so funny? So here's my coffee cup. Look. And I don't want to try to take it out. I froze. I left this in here last night, and there was just a little bit of coffee in the bottom of it. And my thing froze. So I've got to take that inside. But anyway, when I got sober and I started doing my steps, I really struggled with step 2, which is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And it's basically the step where you find a higher power. And I had always, I would say, identify myself as agnostic. I knew that there was some kind of higher power out there. I wasn't really sure of what that was. I definitely wasn't atheist. I believed in something. I always have believed in something. I just couldn't really put my finger on it or identify it. So at that time, the sponsor that I was working with, I mean, we went rounds and rounds and rounds about this because I just didn't feel like I could move on until I had a clear idea of what my higher power was. And he finally was like, I was actually sharing this last night. He got kind of like frustrated, and he was like, God either is or he isn't. And just basically meaning like there is something or there isn't something out there, and it's as simple as that. Like you don't have to, like, you know, get all up in arms about what you believe. And I will tell you that you don't have to have a higher power in the 12. They say that, I don't know how this personally works for people, but because that's not my experience. But I do know people that are atheists that work 12-step programs. So, and as much as people want to think it's like this God program or this religious, it's not in any way. Have I heard people preach religion in meetings? Very rarely, and they're kind of put into place when it happens. Even to say like Jesus in a meeting would be off-putting. Like people wouldn't, like, I think there's this misconception that it's a very Christian-based program. The literature sounds very biblical when you're reading it, but the idea that you can have a higher power of your own is really up to you. And it's really clearly stated, and people really stick to that, because there are so many people that come into 12-step programs that have really kind of negative histories with any kind of religiosity. So I think that's important to note, you know, because people will say to me that don't really understand it, well, it's a religious program. Well, it's absolutely not a religious program. I can tell you that I would not be sober 26 years plus at this point had it been because I was looking for any excuse to not connect when I came in, and that would have been a really good reason for me not to connect. In fact, I was sharing this experience that I had, that I went to a meeting early on, and the meeting was probably on higher power or something like that, and this was in like my first 6 months. I remember exactly what meeting it was. It was this meeting that I used to go to on Saturday nights, and everybody got real dressed up. It was like a real social meeting, and then everybody would go out to dinner and stuff afterwards. But I remember I stood up, and I just kind of like had it, because people were like, God this, God that. Then I walked to the back of the meeting, and I was standing back there smoking a cigarette, and this woman came up to me. She's so sweet. She completely changed my life. She changed my perspective, and she said, why did you get up and leave? And I said, well, I just was real over it. They were talking about God. They were being real Bible thumping, you know. And she was like, is that what you heard? And I was like, yeah. I was like, they were just God this and God that. And I'll never forget, she looked at me and she's like, baby, take what you like and leave the rest. And I was like, what? And she goes, take what you like and leave the rest. She's like, you know, you only have to take what applies to you. And that was kind of the beginning of the spiritual journey that I went on. So at 2 years sober, my sponsor suggested that I went back and I found some kind of, I had no specific higher power for 2 years, except for that I just believed that there was something out there. There was something bigger than me. That, you know, I had this friend of mine, he's the guy that did the artwork in my house that has passed on since. His name was Randy. I loved him. And he was one of my dearest friends. He was actually he was an original outlaw of the biker gang in Indianapolis. And, man, he shared some stuff that I couldn't even imagine. And he and I became just the best of friends, and people used to laugh because here was this guy that was like 6'5", that was this original biker outlaw, you know. I mean, he was one of the outlaws. I mean, he had like the vest and every leather vest that said the Outlaws on the back of it, you know, and everything. And here he and I were, and we were, you know, best of friends. And here was this, you know, gay guy from, you know, the north side of Indianapolis that had lived a pretty sheltered life, even though I thought I was kind of a, you know, a bad ASS at the time. And this original outlaw with like a 3rd grade education. And he ended up writing a book later, and I helped him edit it because he was like, you know, I never learned to read and write past 3rd grade, so will you help me with this? And I'll never forget, he handed me this stack of handwritten sheets of paper that were just like all different kinds of notebooks and everything, and it was probably one of the most fantastic things I've ever read in my entire life. It was just so honest, and, you know, and it was like the truth superseded any kind of grammar or grammatical errors that would have ever been in this thing. It was so beautifully written, and he never did anything with it, which makes me sad. But anyway, so at about 2 years, my sponsor said, oh, anyway, Randy used to say, we would sit in aftercare, and our counselor would say, you know, like, do you have a God? She'd say it to him, you know, and he'd say, I remember this one time he looked out, and there was like this tree right outside the window, and he said, well, miss, he said, I figure that, now I can't make a tree, So my God is the guy that makes trees, because I can't make trees. And I just remember thinking it was so simple, you know? The idea that you didn't have to get real deep with this whole kind of religiosity, spiritualism, you know, that it was like, well, spiritualism is more mediumship, like with spirituality, then your higher power could be the guy that makes trees. And I always remember that to this day, you know. Randy died of a brain aneurysm in the middle of the night. And, he was amazing. He was absolutely amazing. And, I miss him, you know. But it's been a long time since he passed away. I haven't really talked about Randy in a long time. He was married to this woman. It was kind of crazy. It was like his third marriage or something, but he was married to this woman, and she had like 2 master's degrees or something like that. Something crazy from like Ivy League schools. She had gone to like Smith for undergrad, and she was super smart, and they had like this amazing love affair, and they had all these kids. And I remember I went over to his house one time. This was like, we ended up working together too, and he there are all these kids running around, I remember, and he just came out, and he was showing me like where he worked, because he was a sculptor too, and he would take a chisel and stuff, and he would sculpt these rocks, and he was really well known for this. And I remember I said something to him about being an artist, and he said, I don't like that word. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I don't like the word artist. He said, I think it's phony. And I said, well, what do you consider yourself then? He goes, I just pound rocks. He goes, I just pound rocks, and I get my, you know, my feelings and my emotions out pounding rocks. He was one of the most incredible people. I will never forget this, like literally never forget this. Like, you talk about the people that will give you literally the clothes off your back. He had this vest on one time that he had paint in the back of it. It was like a suit vest, and he had paint in the back of it. It was like this, he had used like oil paints, but it was like this, scene. It looked like watercolors. It looked like this scene of like this like lake or whatever. And I was like, Randy, I was like, I love your vest. And he literally, this was when we were working together, he literally took it off and gave it to me. And another time he had made this cross out of nails, and I loved it. And I was like, where did you get that? And he was like, oh, I made that. And I was like, Randy, I love it. And he just took it off and gave it to me. He was just that kind of person, you know. I bet if I started working there in 95, he and I started working about the same time. I think he passed away about 2 years after that, 2 or 3 years after that. And he's been gone for a long time. He was a really cool guy. That painting in my house, the one that hangs over our couch, he did that painting. And I have another painting in my office that he did specifically for me. And it's me and John Lennon and Jerry Garcia all mixed in together as one. Is my battery dying already? Are you kidding me? I can't even tell. It looks like it's flashing though. I left my camera in the car overnight, and I was like, I have a feeling that if the battery is gonna die. Well, if it does, I'm gonna keep on driving until it dies, because I can't really, I think it's flashing, but I can't tell. But anyway, at 2 years, my sponsor told me that I was gonna do the spiritual journey, and I was gonna find a higher power. And so I said, okay, and I was like, where do I start? He was like, what's your biggest fear? And I said, my biggest fear is dying. And he said, okay. And he said, I want you to go find a book that's gonna help you get over this fear of dying. And so I don't know how I found it or why. I mean, I wasn't like a big fan of hers at the time or anything, but I got Sylvia Browne's book, The Other Side and Back, which is about what the other's like when you pass over, what happens, what it's like. And she talks about soul groups and spirit guides and making a blueprint for your life. And it totally, like, I connected with it so much. As corny as it sounds, I really, really did. And so much of it really resonated with me. And so So that was kind of the beginning of it. And then I went on and I read, you know, like books about Buddhism and Hinduism and Kabbalism and Christianity, Native American wisdom, and I started finding kind of like this common theme between all of these religious beliefs of kind of like peace and love and understanding and forgiveness. And it was kind of like this spiritual idea formed for me. And that was kind of like what happened with my like forming of my higher power. And it's very specific to me today when I think of it. And then I had kind of this weird experience when I was sitting down in front of my office one time. This guy walked by, and he was like this guy with like, he was probably like 65, and he had like a trucker hat on and like, you know, old jeans and like, you know, some worker shirt on or whatever. And I was just sitting out there on this bench smoking a cigarette, and there was like a bar across the street. So all these guys would come in and out of this bar, because it was like this local bar called Connor's Pub. And he walked by, and he just kind of smiled at me with like this most like genuine, sincere smile. And I kept on like looking at him, and then like something caught my eye, and I like looked, and the street is like wide and open, and I like looked down, and there was like this piece of paper on the ground, and it was just like this white piece of paper that somebody had like pulled from a sketchbook, and like somebody had written in like just like an ink pen on there, like God loves you, and or some God loves you, man, or God loves you, or something. I took a picture of it and put it on my Facebook at the time because I thought it was so strange, and or I took a picture of it and later uploaded it to my Facebook or something. I don't know, but anyway, I have a picture of it somewhere, and I just remember seeing this piece of paper, and I picked it up off the ground, and I was like, what? God loves you. And I looked up, and the guy was completely gone. Like, there was no way he had enough time to go into the bar, to go down the alley, to go down the street. He just was gone like that. And it was the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced. And to this day, I know this is going to sound strange, but I believe that he's my spirit guide, whoever that guy was. And what's so strange is, when I've gone to go see psychics, they always tell me that a guy fitting his description looks over my shoulder. Isn't that so crazy? Or like is like by my side. That and this dog that I had growing up with my dad, because I had this big red dog when I was growing up, and so anyway, like whenever I see a psychic, like they always like bring up those two things, which I think is so crazy. But anyway, so that's kind of how I started reading that book, Sylvia Browne. I think that was kind of like, well, I mean, when I was in high school and stuff, like I loved reading about like tarot cards and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't understand any of it. I mean, I probably got my first deck of tarot cards when I was like 13 or 14 years old. And my parents were always really open to that stuff, as long as it was like in a positive way and it wasn't like, you know, anything like negative or whatever. I remember, like, I think my fascination with tarot cards started when I saw the James Monn movie Live and Let Die, and Jane Seymour read tarot cards. I was just sitting here, I was like, when would it have started for me? I think that's when my fascination with all of that started. Because it didn't start out of like scary, like, you know, horror movies and stuff like that. It started out of something else, and I think it started out of that. I'm gonna go up here and turn around at the gas station so I can change the battery. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't died yet. So yeah, that's like when I got I think my first deck of tarot cards. I've had a ton of them. I have some in the basement right now. I've never done anything with them. I don't know what to do with them. But anyway, and then as I got older, I can't remember when the very first time I ever went to a psychic was with Tanya, actually, and it was on Halloween, and I was nervous, and I ended up getting, well, the guy that we went to two different people, and the first guy that I went to was just it was silly. It was just silly. And he made me sign this paper that said it was for entertainment purposes only. And then she came out and she had never went. She was like very, because, you know, Tanya has like a pretty serious religious like upbringing, and she was very nervous about going. And she went and just had this unbelievable experience. And so I was sitting in the car waiting for her because I ended up just walking out of my guy. I was like, I'm gonna leave. This is silly. That this is, because he started getting like really frustrated with me. And so she came out and I said, wasn't that just the dumbest thing ever? And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, wasn't that just one of the stupidest things ever, or something like that? And I'll never forget, she looked at me with tears in her eyes and she said that was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And I was like, what? And she was like, I was like, did you have to sign a form that said it was for entertainment purposes only? And she was like, no. And she was like, why is that guy shouting at me when I'm like driving okay in a parking lot? All these people out here, like just parked in this parking lot, are looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like the zombie apocalypse or something. But anyway, I'll just wait here until I guess the battery dies. Is it even flashing red, or am I losing? No, it is flashing red. I thought I was right. But anyway, I wonder if I put my coffee in this, if it would loosen that up. Probably not, I think. You know what I should check is that I hope to God I have another battery with me, because that would not be cute, would it, if I didn't? I thought I checked before I left. I did, it's right here, good. Let's hope it's a full battery. So anyway, I then later that day, I scheduled an appointment with that guy as well, and then that she went with, and I talked about it before, and I do have my water with me though. And I went and I had a phenomenal reading as well, and it was just like, it changed my whole thinking about like spirits and mediums and stuff like that, or mediums and psychics, not spirits and mediums. And so then I kind of started going to a lot of mediums, not a lot, but maybe every 6 months or every year I would go to one. And the thing is like, after that first experience, like I went to that guy like 3 times. My first experience was really good. My second experience was okay. And then my third experience, which I thought this was interesting, he said to me something about like, I went there and like asking questions about my mom. And he said to me, like, it had been literally like 3 years, and he said to me, it was at this place called New Age People in Indianapolis. You can go there and book psychic readings, and they're really cheap. And I will tell you that he's the only guy I've ever gone to there, that there's like 6 or 8 psychics that work there. He's the only one that I've ever gotten like a seriously good reading from. Like everybody else, it just seemed stupid. But he said to me the last time that I went, he said, why do you keep coming here? And like, I couldn't believe he remembered who I was. And he was like, why do you keep coming here and asking for, like, you keep asking the same questions? He was like, are you seeking different answers? And it was like, I said something to him like, I can't believe you even remember who I am. And he didn't even really respond to me. He was just like, why do you come in here and you keep on seeking different answers about your mother? And so that was that. And then I went to this person like way out in the middle of nowhere. God, this was a mess. And she was expensive too. She was like $200. And she was supposed to be like this amazing psychic. And I remember going into her house and we sat in the kitchen. She smoked the whole time, and her granddaughter was like in the back bedroom, and like she taped the whole thing, and she got everything wrong. Like there was nothing right in her reading whatsoever. And the whole time, like her granddaughter would come out and she would come into the kitchen and she would start dancing like this. She was like 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that, and she'd be like, I told you, get back in there, or grandma's not gonna buy your toy when we're done. She kept on saying that. It was like the most miserable experience I've ever had. It was like not spiritual whatsoever. And she gave me this tape, and it was just so dumb. It's just like there was nothing real about the reading whatsoever. I can't believe this has gone this long. I'm almost at 30 minutes and it still hasn't stopped yet. And then Melissa and I went to this woman, God, that was like 2 years ago. We did it like on a Halloween, like, vlog or whatever. And that was stupid too. And who else have I had a reading from? There's been a couple other people. I need somebody in Indianapolis that's really good. If you live in Indianapolis and you know a really good psychic, can you let me know? I want to go to someone that's like really, really good. And it's going to stop. 1, 8, 9. Okay, I'm back. So I really didn't expect to talk for a half an hour about mediums and psychics, but I did. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. So I watched that show last night, a little bit of it. Oh, this is what I was going to say, though, when I actually started this whole conversation, was that this guy on there, he, like, went to this woman, and he's like, she's, like, exceptionally well-known for what she does. And I don't know if maybe they didn't just show the whole reading or whatever, but I didn't feel like, psychics are always so vague to me. And like Teresa Caputo, who I guess apparently they're saying she's a fraud too. Although I will tell you, when Tanya and I don't know if you guys know this, but Tanya bought tickets for us to go see Teresa Caputo for my birthday a couple years ago. She gave them to me as a birthday present. And so we went, and it was at the Murat in Indianapolis, which is like huge. And Tanya was we got laughing so hard because she paid like a lot of money for these tickets, like unbelievable amount of money, right? And we got there, and Teresa was talking about like her fan club, and her fan club like monitors her ticket sales or something like that. And she said there's a lot of scammers online that resell tickets for higher prices. And she's like, there's not a ticket in this audience that's over $100. Because we wondered why we weren't like in the front row. Because Tanya she's like, God, because we were like in the very back, and Tanya was like, man, some of these people must have paid like $600 a ticket to see Teresa Caputo. So Teresa came out and she said something like, there's not a ticket in this audience that's over $100. So if you paid more than $100 from this ticket, you bought it like you got scammed, right? Basically. And Tanya looked at me and she was like, oh my God, like we got so scammed. She was so mad. Because she was like, she bought like, she really wanted us to get a reading, which is why she thought we would be really close. So, anyway, Teresa Caputo literally looks at like 50 people, and she'll say, there's somebody over here that had a father figure that passed away. I'm getting a father figure. Father, uncle, grandfather, brother. She'll be like this. She'll be like, I'm getting a male figure over here that passed away, over 40, 60, 70. And she'll say, uncle, grandfather, brother, grandfather, great-grandfather, dad. It's like, it could be basically any male over 40. And then you see 100 hands go up, right? And she's like, you, right there. It's so fake, you guys. And, you know, these people always talk about how, like, group readings are really hard to do, that there's not a lot of accuracy. Then why are you doing them? Then it's just a money-making thing, right? Then you really should just pay to do a meet and greet is what you should do if it's not accurate, because she had people wailing and crying in the audience and stuff like that, and they were just so vague. And on her show, if you watch her show, she'll be like, did your grandmother wear a necklace around her neck that was a sparrow and it had the word juniper written on it? It's like, how did you know that? It's so specific. Like, that's the psychic that I want to go to. I want to go to the psychic that is that specific. But I have yet to go to that psychic. And so, watching this, I felt like this guy was kind of just like holding on to like any of this random stuff that she said. I was like, I just don't feel like there's a lot of accuracy to this, but whatever. He did. He thought it was the realest thing ever. They also do something, it's kind of a trick in medium, like in like readings. It's called, oh, I can't remember, it's called cold calling or something like that, where they kind of like guess, but like they narrow it down. Like, they'll say, I'm getting the feeling that, like, there's a male figure that passed, an older male figure. And then, like, if you say, like, if you acknowledge it, which is why you're not supposed to acknowledge or say anything. And if you acknowledge it, if you don't acknowledge it, a good psychic that's fake will say to you, and what I mean by that is, like, somebody that knows what they're doing will say, I need you to affirm it, or, like, just to confirm it for me that I'm in the right direction, because these are all just ways for them to say if it's accurate or not. But if you don't, like, they have no idea what they're going on. Like, so when I went and saw that woman out in the middle of nowhere that was going to buy her granddaughter the toy, like, I didn't give her anything. Like, I didn't nod, I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. She didn't even guess that I mean, she was guessing dead people that I didn't even have in my family. I mean, it was bad, you guys. But, like, a good cold caller will be somebody that will, this is when you know you're being faked. They'll say, like, there's a male figure that passed that's older, and then you go, okay, so then that gives them, like, yes. It's like, okay, so then we go in this direction. I feel like this was somebody, so they already know it was male and it was older. So it was probably a grandfather, uncle, or father. Well, typically, you know, like, most people talk about grandfathers or fathers. So they'll say, I feel like it was a grandfather or father figure, which is exactly what this woman did last night in the documentary that I was watching. Yes. And then you can kind of tell, like, if the person starts getting kind of emotional, it's probably somebody that was close to them, right? So they'll say, I'm feeling that it was more of like, was it your father that passed? And if they say no, then you could say, okay, if they say both, or, you know, whatever, they just keep on cold calling it. And then they'll say, like, I'm feeling pressure to my head. Did it have something to do with your head? And there's a lot of things that, you know, you could have passed from that would have been also, like, you would have had head, like, it doesn't have to just be like a head injury. She said in the thing last night, it was so interesting. She said, I'm feeling an impact to my, like a strong impact. She didn't say to my chest. She just went like this, a strong impact. Well, they didn't know how he died. And so he said that, and she's like, and she doesn't go on to say, he's telling me he died from a heart attack. He's telling me he died from a stroke. He's telling me he died from a gunshot. She doesn't say any of that. She just says, I feel like a strong impact. Well, I mean, if you're talking to the person that passed, they know how they died. So why aren't they telling you? Like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of it is fake. Like, I want to go to somebody that's legit. Did you ever watch that show with that girl? She was from Pennsylvania, and then she and her friend moved out to California. They moved to San Diego, and she would do readings in her basement. I really liked her. I thought she was the real deal. I cannot remember her name. She ended up losing. I don't think she has the show anymore. I followed her on Instagram for a long time, and she started dating a guy in the show, and I think they're engaged now or married or something. I can't remember her name. She had long, dark hair. I really, really liked her. She was really specific too. John Edwards was really specific as well. Now, I do think that he's legit the real thing. And then you wonder, why is it so important? Why are there some of us out there that are seeking this to find out, you know, if it is true? And I think, I don't know, I kind of just, I don't really have as much of a fear of dying today, because I realize that I don't really have a lot of control over it. So it's like, I think it's more specific today, like, ways of dying. Like, I don't love to fly, but I will, because I'm not gonna have it stop me from doing things I love. And like, shark attacks obviously is like one of my biggest fears of life. But I think, like, if I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that there was an afterlife, I think, and I feel that there is, like, I do believe that there is. But if I knew, if there was, like, evidence, you know, if a psychic or a medium looked at me and said something that only my mom and I would know, and, like, I have this one thing that I've never mentioned publicly or anything, because at this point, I mean, anybody that looked me up, it'd be kind of hard to, I mean, they could just watch a vlog of mine and know, like, half my, like, life history, right? So there's, like, one thing that I've never told anybody that's such a small, insignificant, I've never shared it in a video, I've never said anything about it, that's so insignificant between my mom and I, that if she ever, this guy said this last night when he and his sister went to go see some medium, that he told his dad before he went, like, if you want me to believe this, then say something about my hair. And there was, like, nothing about his hair that was, like, different. He was just normal looking guy. And at the end, as he was getting ready to walk out, this wasn't with the reading that they showed, it was another reading that he had gone to that he was talking about. He said that there were all these things that were really accurate, and it was like a group reading. And as he was walking out, the medium looked at him and he said, or she said, and one other thing, your dad wants me to bring up your hair. He wants to talk about your hair. And he like knew in that moment. It's like a thing like that. Like I had like this really insignificant thing that if my mom brought up, like I would, like it would, that would be like my, you know what I mean? Like I would know that she was present. And nobody's ever brought that up before, so. Dream. I don't even know what candles I'm looking for today. I know people are very serious about their candle game, but I go into Bath and Body Works and I have like really no idea what I'm getting. Isn't that so funny? I can't believe like I'm like out and doing stuff. Like I usually don't leave the house till like mid or late afternoon, and it's just 12:10 right now. Do you know that store, Cabela's or whatever? That street is called Cabela Way. Isn't that so funny that there's a street name for the store? You guys are like, Peter, we were just here last week, or a couple days ago, 2 days ago. I know, and we're back. We're supposed to get some more snow tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow morning, like not bad snow, but flurries or something. Snow showers. Look at how high this snow is, you guys. Do you see this? This is crazy. Look at this. I mean, it's obviously shoveled from... Look at that. It's crazy. The only reason I come to this mall is because it's Bath and Body Works. Because you can just... It's outside and you can just walk in and walk out. And there's like never anybody in there. And... all the other Bath and Body Works are like in the middle of the mall. You have to like go in the mall all the way. And I'm just not all about that. Yeah, there's like one car in front of it. Oh. That's because there's like 3 handicap parking spaces. Doesn't even look like there's anybody in the store. All right, well, I'm gonna go in here. What does it say? Are they having a sale today? All wallflower fragrances refills. Oh my god, are $3.95? What else do they have a sale on? Bake shop now open? What does that mean? Maybe they'll have some new scents. What's your favorite candle? I'm not going to show you guys what I got. Oh, it's like this bake shop right in front. It's like all these different bakery things. Yeah, all I see is like the clerk standing by the door. I don't see anybody else in there. Well, all right, you guys. I'm going to go in here and I will be back in just a few. Bye. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? You're like, Peter, we didn't even know that you were gone because it was 1 second. Well, I did my shopping. I do not believe that I'm going to go to Target because I got enough candles in there, I think. So, do you guys like buy candles that all kind of smell the same, or do you try different things? Like, I love to try different things. And so I buy like one candle that's like fruity and one candle that's like not. And I actually found this scent and I was like, this just smells like what I think our house should smell like. And well, my favorite candle, Winter, they said was a Christmas scent, and so they're gone. Oh, there's an Ulta over there, I didn't know that. So they said that they were out of it. I was like, oh. But anyway, and I think Champagne Toast is probably my all-time favorite candle. But anyway, I found another candle that I really like. And, but it's always interesting, like, I'm like, do you have, because they have those, what do you call it, the room plug-in things on sale, and I'm like, do you guys have these in this scent? No, we don't. I'm sorry. I mean, they were really nice, the people that worked in there, but she was like, no, we don't have those. And I was like, oh. Because I really wanted this one scent, but I'm going to show it on my Peter Does Stuff channel. So anyway, done with the candle shopping. Now I'm gonna go home. I think I might do a review video on the way, depending on if my, how much of my candle, I'm not gonna vlog for a whole lot longer, depending on how much of my camera battery I have left. I might pull into a Starbucks and do like a Starbucks review of a secret menu drink, which would be kind of fun. And yeah, and then I'm gonna go home. God, it's kind of early. Well, I mean, not early, but I mean, it is early compared to, I mean, I could have all my videos done by the time that I talk to B. I could make double videos for all of my channels today. Oh my God, wouldn't that be so funny if I made 2 videos for Peterisms, 2 videos, I should do that today. That would be so funny, wouldn't it? 2 videos for each of my channels today. 12 videos, can you even imagine? I just love to make videos. I love it so much. I mean, I wouldn't do 2 vlogs, so I guess it would be 11 videos, wouldn't it? Or I could just listen to some of my audiobook and relax. But once I start making videos, I just get so pumped. I'm like, make videos, I love this, I love this. And then I come up with more ideas and more ideas. And so depending on what there is to talk about today, I'll probably do 2 drama videos. And then I'm gonna do a review video, so that'll be 3 videos I'm gonna do today. And then my vlog, Peterisms. Oh, I wanna do a haul on my BookTube channel. Peter Does Stuff. 8 videos I would make today? That seems like a lot, doesn't it? That doesn't seem right. My vlog, 2 dramas. I know what one of those videos is going to be, but I don't know what the other one is going to be. I'm going to make a video about the Gabby Hanna and Trisha Paytas thing. I started watching that last night. I'm going to finish it before I make that video today. So 2 dramas, Peterisms, a BookTube video, a review video, and Peter Does Stuff. That's 7 videos I would make today. Dun 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 dun. Oh my God, Depeche Mode, Personal Jesus. Do you guys remember that song from back in the day? I loved that song. I listened to Depeche Mode a lot when I was in high school, actually. It was probably one of my most listened to bands. It was more of kind of like a band that like my friends liked. What's the guy's lead singer's name? Mullins or something like that? My friends liked him more than I did, or liked them more than I did. I liked Depeche Mode. Like if it was on, I would listen to it, but it was definitely not like my #1 pick. You know what I mean? Dun 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 dun. Can you believe all this snow? I mean, you guys look at all this snow that we have. Would you just look at it? It's so pretty, isn't it? Welcome to Indiana in the winter. Well, I've been wanting snow, and I got my snow. Texas is still, like, people are having blackouts, and it's horrible. so horrible. It makes me sad. And then here, that pet store here in Indianapolis, you guys, they said originally that 40 animals died in it, and apparently now it's like 100 animals. Somebody sent me, I think maybe it was my friend that sent me this article that said 100 animals died in it. It breaks my heart. I just can't even imagine, like, those poor animals, how scared they must have been, you know. I remember watching this documentary not too long ago about animals that grow up like have you seen where, like, what do they call them? Like puppy mills, where they have like all these just animals on top of animals on top of animals. And I had never thought about it this way before, and they had said that all of these dogs, like, they had always lived in fear. Like, from the moment that they were born, they had always lived in fear. They had never not lived in fear. Isn't that such a sad reality to think about that? Like, it just breaks my heart. It's like when I first became a vegetarian, it's like, honestly, like, a lot of it wasn't for, like, anything other than I just read this, you know, seen this video that, I think it was like a PETA interview or video talking about, like, erasing your carbon footprint on the world, you know? But, like, the more I'm a vegetarian, the more I'm like, I remember, I think it was Jenna Marble said something about the reason that she's a vegetarian is because she couldn't eat her pets. And, like, the more I spend time, you know, with my dogs and whatever, I mean, it's like, I'm such a believer that dogs have souls, and that dogs, you know, just are like, have these unbelievable, you know, personalities and stuff. And animals, just any animal, you know? I don't know, it changes your perspective. This is where I came out here for my back MRI. Do you guys remember the day that I did that? I thought this was a friend of mine next to us, but it's not. And then I remembered that my friend is not in town right now, so it couldn't possibly be my friend. Hey, friend. All right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to listen to a little bit of my audiobook, and then go and do a review, and then go home and start uploading this vlog so I can get this uploaded and done in time. And then I'm going to try to vlog tonight. I'm going to try to stay up and vlog tonight. I've just, you know, I probably will do a couple, like, you know, 1 or 2 vlogs a week. It's been nice going to bed earlier. I feel real rested for the day. It's nice, you know, going to bed with Alex and stuff like that. I usually try to lay down with him anyway, and then when, you know, like, if he's asleep, then I leave, or, you know, whatever. But, you know, a lot of nights he'll be playing his game in bed, and I'll just be like, I'm gonna leave. He doesn't care. It's just, it's nice, you know, to fall asleep with my husband. So that's been nice the last couple nights, but I do miss vlogging. I love vlogging at night, and he's so supportive of that too. He knows I do, and plus I like to listen to my audiobook at night and stuff like that. So anyway, this pickup truck is literally pulling out right in front of me. Okay, dude. So anyway, I will try to be back tonight, late at night, for another late night vlog. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!